Quick, are you going through a spiritual awakening? Or is the sketchy pizza from the gas station on the corner coming back to haunt you? Stick around, let's figure out what the difference is. Hi, I'm Marna, and thank you for joining me. So tonight we're talking about spiritual awakenings. And this was brought up by a friend of mine who was like, I really don't know if all that's going on right now is a spiritual awakening or not. And he went on to say that he felt like he had been through this process so many times before. How could it possibly be that many spiritual awakenings? So the first thing to realize is life does not move in a straight line. We all know this. It also does not move in a seemingly random series of squiggles like a line rider gate. Life moves in a spiral. And the reason life moves in a spiral is because as you go up a level in consciousness, you can return to the lessons that you've already faced and see them from an entirely new perspective. And by seeing those same lessons from a new perspective, that gives you a chance to learn even more about those lessons. So each of us may only deal with 5 or 6 lessons in life, but we have to keep revisiting them over and over until we have truly learned all there is to learn. If you are the type of person who frequently dates the same person in different bodies, I know I am, that's an example of this. The reason you keep coming back to that situation is so you can approach it from a different perspective and have different reactions on a later time around. So, how do we know that what we're going through is a spiritual awakening and not just indigestions from the gas station pizza? There's generally a pattern to an awakening process. And keep in mind, you will go through this awakening process more than once. It's not one and done, suddenly I'm enlightened, woohoo, bring out the puppies. It is a process that's proposed over and over. And generally there's roughly 5 stages to this process. Now, the first stage is opening your eyes, what we would originally think of as the awakening. Now, this is becoming conscious of the fact that there is more. Being aware of the presence of the divine or the universal consciousness or whatever higher transcendent aspect of reality we are ready to move forward into. Whatever it is that triggers this awakening, it is almost invariably something that you meet with inspiration. You have this sudden bolt out of the blue that there is so much more, that you are connected to everyone and everything, that you individually have the power to step forward into the divine, that you are magic made flesh. And you feel this absolutely incredible sense of understanding and being understood, a sense of being special, of being different from everyone else because you have been hit with this understanding. Now, this leads us into a period of purging. We realize the contrast between the ordinary life we've been living and this transcendent reality that we see in front of us. And we recognize that for us to move full time from the mundane to the transcendent, we have to eliminate some things. Most of those things are within us, our own personal imperfections, but they also include things like our attachments, and recognizing that some of the people that we hold nearest and dearest may not be as ready to move into this new pattern as we are. And this is when those who no longer help us move forward tend to fall away from our lives. We lose friendships, we lose family members, we lose jobs, we lose anything that's not ready to move forward with us into this new vibrational reality. And this is all part of the process. As difficult as this transformative stage is, getting rid of that which holds us back is the only thing that enables us to continue moving forward. Now, after that, after we have purged ourselves of the things that hold us back, we move forward into a period of illumination. By letting go of these ego attachments, our perception of the new reality we're moving into becomes clearer. And this experience becomes almost luminous. You feel like you're bathed in light. You feel the difference in vibration. You feel yourself elevating, ascending to a higher level of understanding, of vibration, however you want to perceive it. You may experience more of a sense of unity with the universe as a whole. You may experience more of a sense of understanding of yourself as an individual. It all depends on which level of the spiral you are ascending to. No matter what, as you're uplifted into this greater alignment with this new transcendent reality, you feel that letting go, as unpleasant as it was worth the sacrifice, because it has made it possible for you to step forward. If you are experiencing, say, a Kundalini Awakening, this is the time period when that energy flow has rushed up through you and you are feeling the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in these two energies, and you're feeling the power of the Shiva and the Shakti merging within you. You're feeling your chakras light up with the energy moving through them, and you are sensing what it is that this opens you up to in an entirely new spiritual world. If you are feeling like you have been touched by the spirit of the divine, this is the time period when you are being woken up in the middle of the night with prophecies or with inspirations, with muses, with whatever it is that is being expressed through you. It is a period of utter bliss and joy as you are merging into this new energetic flow. And it is almost always followed very hard by a dark night of the soul. This dark night of the soul means that at some point, while we have been in this illuminated state and getting all of this inspiration, eventually our bodies reach a point where they can't continue at that level. We need to rest. And because we need to rest, that flow of inspiration gets cut off. And if you have been in this uplifted, exalted state and suddenly that is cut off and you go back to being you, what you are still perceiving as the old you, it feels like you have been kicked out of heaven. You begin to question all of it. Did this profound experience really happen, or was I delusional? You feel deprived. You feel abandoned by this incredible new energy that you know still exists, but you're not touching anymore. And it's this apparent fall from grace that causes you to go deeper within, that causes you to become even more radical with purging out the old mundane and with confronting your shadow. It is the dark night of the soul that puts you face to face with the fears that you have been running from. If you have been in a twin flame relationship, this is what happens when your twin flame has left and you are left facing nothing but an empty mirror containing the shards of your fears made flesh. So when that dark night of the soul hits, recognize it too serves a purpose, because it is deconstructing every last shred of your ego in its current state. It is breaking you down to the basics for the sole purpose of allowing you to be built back better. Dark night of the soul leads to a surrender, a surrender of self, a surrender of the ego, a surrender of believing that you know what's best, a surrender of thinking that you have any clue of what's going on at all. And then you suddenly understand. As you move into the surrender, then you understand that that sense of joy from that period of illumination never really left. It just became a little harder to access. It's still there. That transcendence is still there. And by surrendering to the greater purpose of the energy flow, of the divine, of however you want to phrase it, by surrendering to that pattern, then you let go of the separation of the self from the transcendent. You let go of keeping yourself separate from that which is so much larger than any one person can be. You move into a state of union with the absolute transcendent reality that you've been introduced to. It's a very harsh learning process. And no, you don't go through it once. You go through it over and over and over. But the good news is, if you learn the lessons, if you learn why you're experiencing the dark night of the soul, it becomes so much easier to reach that point of surrender and move into that point of union, and then be ready to move on to even the next level. So that is the awakening journey. That is what causes you to experience such bliss and such devastation in such quick succession. So when the Kundalini is rising in you, ride it, love it, and know that it's part of the pattern. You know that you will feel this again and again as you continue moving forward in your awakening journey. I'm Marna. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next video.